Did you guys know that eagles avoid getting rained on by flying above the clouds? Be like an eagle. Stop being a crybaby. Put on your big boy and your big girl shoes and get going and fly like an eagle. Remember the shit that you've accomplished. And if you haven't accomplished shit, then start accomplishing shit. And start writing down somewhere, whether it's in your journal or whether it's in your phone. Write something down, a message to yourself for whenever you are depressed or feeling anxious or whatever it is that you're feeling, just kind of sad or whatever, and you don't have a lot of motivation. Write down a letter to yourself identifying what you have going for you right now and what you've accomplished, and make a list of whatever it is, or just write yourself a note and see what you can tell yourself when you are feeling down. Like, how would you comfort yourself when you're down? The truth is, you cannot afford to be stupid. Not in this day and age. You cannot afford to let anything stop you. You cannot afford to be surrounded by people that couldn't give a shit about you. You can't afford to not have people in your life that are willing and wanting to build you up in the same way that you want to build them up. You simply cannot afford to not have those kinds of things in your life. It is a matter of priorities. It is a matter of understanding the paradigm shift that you're going to have to make in order to make a better life for yourself and to make a better version of who you are in order to reach the highest possible spiritual channels for yourself and to please the Most High. What else do you need to do in this life? What else do you have to do right now? Really think about it. It's not going to be difficult. It's not going to be challenging to think about this way. It's going to be a challenge to actually do what you know you need to do. That's going to be the challenge. And so when you're not feeling motivated, again, I don't really believe in motivation. Motivation comes and goes. What always can be and what always is the will and the drive to succeed. You know, it really pisses me off when I hear people out and about talking about how they're so tired and they can't wait to go home and watch TV for a few hours. And it's like, do you do this every day? Do you do this every single day? As soon as you get home, you watch TV for a few hours? Like, what the hell are you doing with your life? What the hell are you doing? I can understand if it's meaningful content consumption. Like, if you're on YouTube watching this, I honestly think YouTube, Rumble, and Quora, Twitter. Twitter can be, depending on like who you follow and what you follow. But the other platforms, and Medium as well. Medium's a good platform because these are all platforms where people can actually express themselves authentically. Well, on YouTube, maybe not as much because you have to be careful a little bit what you say. Remember when YouTube used to be like the Wild West of digital civilization? That was so cool. The good old days where almost anything could be put on YouTube. That was awesome. That was a really good time. And there was a lot of things that really shouldn't have actually gotten the attention that it did. But somehow there was memes made out of memes and GIFs made out of memes and memes made out of memes and memes. It's just, anyway. There's a lot of different things and a lot of different content that came from YouTube that has propagated itself into the modern society and has also contributed to a lot of the slang and a lot of the cultural slangs that are used by modern day kids and modern day adolescents and adults, all of the above. What's also really interesting to me is to see grown women and grown men at the gym when they're playing look, I don't have headphones on when I'm at the gym, but they're playing these like Justin Bieber songs or Nicki Minaj songs, and it's weird to see men and women like sing along to those songs. You know, it's really weird to me. I don't know exactly why. It's just, you're a grown ass man and you're singing Nicki Minaj, like you know these lyrics by heart. I don't know why. That just rubs me the wrong way. That just rubs me the wrong way, man. And a lot of the times these kinds of people at the gym are not always very serious about being at the gym. You know, that I cannot tell you how many times people at the gym, not just the one that I'm going to now, but ones I've went to in the past, where people actively complain about not seeing results, and yet they're on their phone 50 to 70% of the time that they are at the gym. And then they're complaining to their friends about not seeing results, and then they're just going to go eat a cheeseburger and get a milkshake maybe as well. And it's like, what? Like, look, I know that, like, who I was, who I used to be was the guy that would rather play video games and eat pizza and drink alcohol and play video games for all night long, eating ice cream. You know, that was the guy that I was 4 years ago. And I paid for it dearly. And it's so amazing to me how people almost twice my age, if not twice my age or above, can still behave in these kinds of ways. Where I learned not to do these things 2 to 4 years ago when I was 22 and 24. And even then, I considered myself like beyond the age where I should have realized that it's not good to do these things. Like I was disappointed in myself for not realizing this stuff earlier. But I stopped being a fucking crybaby, and I put on my big boy shoes and my big boy pants, and I grabbed myself by the balls, because that's the first thing you got to do as a man whenever you're trying to figure something out. Locate your balls, make sure you got those on, and then go do the shit that you're supposed to fucking do. That's what life is about as a man. You have to do what you have to do. No excuses. Stop putting it off. Stop dreaming and idealizing the life that you wish you had, and start working and creating the life that you want. That is what it means to be a man. And I know I can be a little bit vulgar in my word choice here, but somebody's got to get the message through somehow. So that is the shit that you need to do so that you can go out there and accomplish things. I don't like the feeling of pride necessarily. It's not about pride. It's about being proud of what you are able to do and what you are able to accomplish. It's about knowing that you can fly above those clouds like the eagle when it's raining, and you can see the sun, and you can see the mountaintops before you. You can see miles ahead, miles and miles ahead. you are the top predator in the sky. Now, I'm not talking about predator as in like being a creepy predator. I'm talking about being able to hunt for what you want and go after what you want. That's not what I'm advocating for when I talk about being a type of animal. You have to be an animal. You have to be a sophisticated savage in modern day's world. You have to understand who is who and what is what. You have to understand and have discernment on what people are actually trying to get from you. Because a lot of the times, what people want from you absolutely is, something that they can get for free. A lot of people don't want to put in the work to get what they want. A lot of people don't understand that you have to train for your relationships. You have to train for the people that you have and that you want to have in your life. It's just like training for a 5K or something like that. If you're training for a 5K and you haven't gone on a 5K for months and months and months, you know that you're going to have to train for it a little bit. You know that you're going to have to set a plan ahead and run 2 miles this day, 3 miles this day, 6 miles this day, just to get the extra cardio in, and then go back to 2, go back to 3, go back to 2, go back to 3, 6 miles, and so on and so forth. And that's not a set example. I'm just giving an example of what you would do when training for something that you haven't done for a long time. Or just something in general. Maybe you haven't been in a relationship for a long time. Maybe you haven't been in a relationship for just yesterday. Maybe you just broke up with somebody, or maybe you are just taking the route toward God. Whatever you are doing right now, you must understand and have a plan. You must understand where you're at and have a plan. Because if you do not have a plan of action, you're not going to be able to get to where you're striving to be. Not at all. You have to have some kind of idea. Now, I'm not saying you have to write down every single step along the way, but you must have a rough idea of where you're heading. And you must have a rough idea of where you want to go. You must have a rough idea of what exactly you want to accomplish. You must have a vision. Why? Why must you have these things? Why must you do these things? Glad you asked. Why you should understand what to do in these kinds of situations and how to plan and strategize is because this life that we live is a psychological battle between you and you. That's what it's all about, man. That's what it's all about. This is a psychological battle between you and you. And if you can understand what your strengths and weaknesses are and focus on your strengths while also adhering to and building up your weaknesses, you will have this grace about you. You will have this very divine grace about you that some people may not even understand, and some people might even be jealous or envious or angry at. As chosen ones, you will piss people off by your mere presence. It's so freaking crazy, man. It's so freaking crazy. And then other people will just admire you and look at you in awe for just how much energy you have, how you glow. Just, you have this glowy force about you. You have this glowy aura about you. They're not always sure why or how this happens, but it's there, and people can sense it, and the demons and other people will sense it too. This is why you cannot afford to be stupid. You have to know where your demons are or where other people's demons may be. This is why whenever I'm talking to new women or new men in my life, there are a few different characteristics that I look for in how to determine whether or not they're a good fit for my life or not. Number one is, how disagreeable are they? If they're going to be disagreeing a lot, if they're not going to be very cooperative, I don't really want them around me if they're a woman. And as a man, I actually have a little bit more respect for, because at least he knows what he stands for and he's willing to live his own life. In fact, if you have an opinion at all, whoever you are, and you stand by it, I will respect you for it. I will respect your opinion, but I may not respect your ideas. That's different thing. So that's the first characteristic. The second characteristic is how they are acting around their friends and how good they are at being in solitude. Are they capable of being alone? Really is another thing that I look for. If they're not capable of being alone, if they need people around them at all times, I don't even want to associate with you, because if you need people around you at all times, that means in all likelihood you don't know who you are. And you need other people to tell you who you are, or to just follow the crowd. And I'm not about that. I'm not about following the crowd at all, in any way, shape, or form. Number 3, the thing that I look for is how fit they are physically, and how fit they are mentally, and how fit they are spiritually. I kind of use these all under the same umbrella, because they are all connected in some way, shape, or form. So how do you determine whether somebody is fit spiritually, emotionally, or physically? Well, physically, it's pretty obvious to see whether or not they're fit. But sometimes it is the healthy individual that is most, like, to be healthy and to be fit are two different things, in my opinion. You can be healthy, but you may not look very fit. And you can be fit, but you may not be actually very healthy because of how you train. So the way that I associate different kinds of versions of fitness and healthy qualities of physical fitness is just your ratio and how you train and how you do things, how well you eat, what is your lifestyle like, what do you like to eat, do you cook in your free time? If you don't cook, then that is, and this is a part of spiritual fitness as well. Like, if you don't cook, I don't really know who or what you're about. If you're not cooking your own food, if you're always going out to eat or whatnot, then I don't see how you can be very, very healthy. You may save time and you may save a lot of physical labor, but if you go out to eat a lot, now I do know there are, or once was, a millionaire, billionaire, or something like that, tens of millions of dollars, I can't remember, but he went to Chipotle for like both meals in the day. He only had 2 meals, but he went to Chipotle both times because he wanted to get the super high protein and the super high carbs, and because he was working out. And he would get like 200 grams of protein in those 2 meals, which is just insane. But that if that's the way to do it, that's the way to do it, I guess, for him. And usually, like, I try to stick between 100 to 150 grams of protein per day. And just because it's very difficult to get beyond that unless you're eating a lot, like you're just eating a lot. And right now I'm in a cutting phase, so I'm not going to be eating a whole lot. I'm just going to be eating a lot more meat and poultry, but just to keep the protein. But anyway, back to the physical fitness thing. Another way to determine somebody's physical fitness is just seeing how much they work out, asking them how much they work out, or just seeing how they talk about working out or training with martial arts or anything like that they do, or sports in general. Emotionally, the way that you can tell somebody's fit emotionally is by a few different indicators. How well they can express themselves and how well they can take accountability and own their emotions. There's a difference between expressing emotions for men and expressing emotions for women. There is a masculine way to express your emotions as a man. But if you're a man, you have to understand that women and female nature primarily operates on emotion. And so you have to stimulate emotions if you're talking to a woman in some way, shape, or form in order for her to not be bored at all. You know, and there's a saying, right? Like you can do anything to a woman but bore her. And so you have to understand how to express your emotions without being too vulnerable, right? And because I'm not saying that vulnerability is not a strength, it definitely is. But to be too vulnerable with women as a man is going to get you into a lot of heartache. It's going to get you into possibly the friend zone, and it's really not going to get very far unless you want a platonic relationship with a woman, which I don't know why you would as a man, but that's just me. And that's what I recommend to everybody that I do one-on-one consultations with as men. I recommend them to not have female friends because there really is no point. I'm a man. I'm attracted to women. Now, if I'm working with them, I have a video on why men and women shouldn't be friends from a few months ago. And there's a few different categories that I put women in whenever I'm associating with them. It's usually the business category or relationship category or nothing at all. You know, if I'm doing business with you, that's different. If I'm trying to help you become a better version of who you are, I'll do that for anybody and whoever, as long as they're reciprocal, of course. But if I'm attracted to the woman, then I'm going to be attracted to you. Let's be real. I'm not going to be reciting scripture or anything like that with a woman I'm fairly attracted to. I'm going to be wanting to talk about bodies, okay? And that's just that. That's just what it is. And then the third thing is nothing. Like, I just ignore women that I'm not interested in or that I'm not doing business with because there's no point in associating with them. But for men, it's a little bit different. So how do you express emotions healthily as a man? Or as a woman in general? It's just using I statements, right? Using I statements like, I feel this way when this happens, or I don't like this when you do that. Any kind of I statement that clarifies the situation is going to be very helpful for you. And then for women, they, generally speaking, intuitively know how to express their emotions. And they're not going to be too shy about it unless they really like a guy or something. They might be a little bit shy or nervous, but try not to hide it. But I'm a man that knows when a woman is nervous or afraid and pretending not to be. So that's that. And the other thing to look out for being emotionally fit is just their demeanor in general. You know, are they fidgeting a lot, or are they scanning the room a lot, or trying to wide-eyed? They look lost, like a like a deer in headlights. I was gonna say a deep in headlights. Don't know what that meant, but a deer in headlights. If they just have that look, no, that's a no-go. And women, usually how they healthily express their emotions is, again, through I statements, but also I'm weary of women that use too many I statements. The reason being, and doesn't ask questions. Reason being is because she's usually more disagreeable and she's usually more masculine in her life, which is not really attractive to me. I don't like masculine women just as much as women don't like feminine men. It's just not really compatible. That's just it is what it is. And then finally, the spiritually fit. I like to ask people straight up. Like, I don't care. Like, do you follow Christ? Yes or no? And if they don't, they don't. And if they do, then I'll ask more vetting questions, because in the Bible it talks about how to test the spirits of the people that claim to be spiritual, right? So it's kind of like testing genuine faith in some way, shape, or form. And you have to be very strategic about this in how you actually ask these, because I've had women tell me that they met this guy, that he likes the Bible and la 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 la, and then a few weeks later they want to do a Bible study or something, and he's like, oh, that's really that's not really what I like to do. I don't like to do Bible study. It's like, well, that's a liar. Women, that's a liar. So be on the lookout, women. Be more choosy. I highly recommend women to, and when I say be more choosy, I mean just look for the green flags. Look for the green flags more so than the red flags. Now, I understand evil is very attractive and seductive to you women, but if you want to wonder where all the good men are when you're older, then stop choosing evil men. What else do I have to say? Now, there's a difference between being a nice guy and a good guy, right? There's a difference between being a nice guy and a good guy. And this is, again, the epitome of today's message is you cannot afford to be stupid. If you consider yourself a nice guy, you've got a long way to go. You've got a really long way to go. And I'm sorry to be the one to tell you this, but it's the truth. I was once a nice guy myself, and I killed that beta motherfucker a long time ago. He died. In me. He died. And now, well, I created someone new. I created the man that I'm supposed to be and that I am. I'm a grown-ass man. And thank God for that. Because that beta that used to be me, it was, like, when I look back to it, I just think about how pitiful that guy was, and how lost he was, and how lost he didn't think he was. That's another thing that is very common with a bunch of betas, is how they don't think that they're lost, and they think doing certain things is going to get them the right keys to success, and it's just not. It's just not. But the way for you to know if you're spiritually fit as a man is how stoic you can be, how much you can take pain and discipline, how much you can actually discipline yourself, and how much you can actually remember about who you are and where you come from. With women, it's a bit similar, but I would say that there's a couple differentiations that are highly worth noting. A spiritually mature and a spiritually fit woman will be feminine in her frame. She will be submissive, generally speaking. Because again, not all guys or not all people are worthy to be submitted to. So it's up to the woman to have the courage to discern who's worth being submitted to and who's worth not. And because there's something in women's biology that says when a man is trying to lead them somewhere, it's like, oh, he is leading me and he is leading us to who we are, to who we will be. We must go. That's just the female biology right there. That's the internal software programming, deep down evolutionarily. And so women will naturally be submissive when they're spiritually fit. And they will also not be afraid to be spiritually have spiritual healing properties, and she'll bring peace to whatever it is that you're doing, and she'll be supportive and appreciative. And the way that men show spiritual fitness and the way that women show spiritual fitness they're very similar, but they're very different as well spiritually. But generally, they are very similar in the traits that they have and the traits that they strive for to get there, to get to that spiritual fitness. So those are just a few things to look out for whenever you're meeting new men or women in your life. Make sure that you understand the differences between being disagreeable and spiritual fitness, emotional fitness, etc., etc. With that being said, I hope this message was informative and useful, and I do hope that you make the decision to not afford to be stupid in this life. Praise be to the Most High, and peace be with you. Till next time.